All right, all right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you, wherever you are in this beautiful world. Welcome to our Wednesday morning Inner Circle live session. I'm your host, Ryan Carthage. We'll be joined shortly by my awesome partners, Mr. Benny Allen and Miss Casey Jackson. I hope everybody is doing well today. So, midweek, Benny did a great session last night, breaking down talking about the prop firms, right? We've had a lot of questions come in regarding them, and broke down one of the prop firms that we like and why we like it, why we look at it. Great opportunity to trade with other people's money, right? Once you get to the point of trading live and you're into your routine and develop the discipline of following your rules. If you missed that session, strongly suggest going back and taking a look at it. All right. This morning, we're going to take a look at some fundamentals, some interesting things happening. And then what I want to do is we'll take a look at a couple setups, but start to reset my charts, right? We're at the end of the month. And we know a lot of times, end of the month, things start to slow down a little bit, which they have, and prepare for tomorrow, which is the beginning of the month, and then Friday, which we have non-farm payroll, right? Key data, key sets of data for the United States. So that's the plan for this morning. So as always, let's turn off all distractions, prepare your minds and your bodies to engage as you guys always do. And for the courtesy of everybody on the call, please ensure that your mic is muted if you're not actively asking a question or making a comment. All right. So let's dive in. Miss Casey Jackson, good morning. She might be moving around, getting set for her day. So, trading economics.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Good morning. How are you?
I'm sorry. I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. Doing well.
Good morning, everybody.
Trading economics. Key data point here, right? Euro area inflation reaches new record of 9.1, right? Annual inflation rate in the euro area accelerated 9.1 in August from 8.9 in July, above market forecast of 9%. Preliminary estimates show the inflation broke a new record high as energy costs remain elevated and prices of food and services continue to accelerate. Excluding energy, inflation increased to 5.8%. That's big, right? That's big for the euro area, okay? So that's something we want to stay aware of as we prepare for euro interest rate increases in the month of September, okay? So that's key data there. Then we got oil. I'm going to touch on some of the stuff from the euro area as well in this oil report, but WTI crude futures dropped further to around $89 per barrel on Wednesday, extending last night's session's plunge, on track to retreat over 8% in August as fears of tight monetary policy and COVID curbs in China, right? Joy shared that article with us yesterday regarding some of the things happening in China, and continue to press energy demand, right? ECB policymakers said a 75 basis point rate hike is being considered for the next meeting, right? So inflation, 9.1%. ECB saying they're discussing potential 75 basis point hike, right? Look at those euro pairs that we've been looking at key levels, right? All-time lows in some cases, starting to reverse. The 75 basis point rate hike could play a part in that continuing to reverse in the direction that we're looking at, right? But we'll continue on oil. as aggressive measures are necessary to stabilize consumer prices after inflation in the bloc extends to record highs in August. The Fed is also expected to keep borrowing costs restrictive for a prolonged time, even if it dents growth, right? Fed Chair Powell's words. In the meantime, fresh COVID outbreaks in major cities of China, got some cities listed there, placed millions under strict lockdowns, right? So China, primary trade partner of Australia and New Zealand, right? Those currencies be impacted by these lockdowns, right? Trade not happening, restrictions, those currencies could also see moves to the downside, which we'll take a look at a couple actually. And where are we at here? Compounding worries of economic activity in the world's largest oil importer after August PMI data came in contractory territory for the second consecutive month. On the supply side, clashes in Iraq kept markets on edge, but oil output in the OPEC member remained largely unaffected, right? I mentioned a lot in this article that we want to stay aware of, right? ECB, potential 75 basis point rate hike, right? Fed also pushing restrictive for a prolonged period of time, COVID outbreaks impacting oil, but also impacting primary trade partners, Australia and New Zealand, right? So lots of data there that we want to be aware of, right? So key points there. Yeah, those are the primary two, right? Your area shares extend the losses, right? In this article, they also talk about the inflation extending, but it also strengthens the case for the ECB to deliver a big rate hike next week. All right. At the same time, concerns over further reduction in gas supply increased as natural gas flows via the Nord Stream pipeline halted for 3-day maintenance, right? So that's another thing to keep an eye on for oil as well. This was on the natural gas side of things. However, there's been an ongoing back and forth with that Nord Stream pipeline coming out of Russia. All right. So some interesting things going into the beginning of the month of September that can definitely impact this second half of the trading year, right? So hop over to Forex Factory real quick. Today we have ADP non-farm employment change. Now, normally this isn't a major impact. It's a precursor to the report that's going to come out on Friday. However, this report we haven't had for like 2 months. They stopped putting this report out. So with it being the first month of having this data back, we could potentially see a reaction in the market in one direction or the other, right? So at 8:15, you want to just be aware that we could see some initial reactions, be it emotional potentially, right? But we could see some reactions there from this report, seeing as it's the first month back. And then on Friday, we'll see how close it came in its kind of precursor to the non-farm payroll numbers. Okay. So that'll wrap up the month of August for us, right? And then we want to prepare for the month of September, right? So coming on Thursday, CPI data for the Swiss franc, some more PMI data coming out of Europe, and coming out of Europe. And then, like I said, on ISM manufacturing for the United States on Thursday as well. And then on the 2nd, we got non-farm payroll, right? So that's the fundamental perspective there. Do we have any questions? I know it was a lot. Nope. All right, cool deal. Benny, good morning, bro.
Good morning, Ryan. Good morning, everybody. How are you, Ryan?
Doing well, man. Doing well. How about yourself?
Oh, man, doing great. Glad to be here as always.
Awesome. Glad to have you, bro. All right, so we're gonna hop into some pairs. Like I said, there's a couple that I want us to take a look at. take a look at a few interesting things that are happening. First one is this pound CAD, right? This pound CAD. So overall, we're going to come all the way back to the monthly. Okay. We're at a key monthly support level, right? That we haven't been at since 2013, right? Very strong level. The next level is the level we haven't been at since 2010, which is also an all-time low, right? So coming into some very, very, very important levels on this pound Canadian dollar, okay? So we want to see, do we get a reaction here and a potential reversal, right? It's been a long, strong push, multiple months to the downside, okay? So this is one that I'm keeping my eye on. So as we move down through the levels, right, we see we created a weekly swing high here, and price continue to press to the downside. And we're getting some indecision from the higher time frames, right? Strong monthly push, but on the weekly, we got some indecision. We get to the daily time frame, right? And we run our fibs from the high here. And we see that we also hit a de-extension on the daily time frame, right? The extension hit on the daily time frame, a level that we haven't been at since 2013. Okay. Starting to put some pieces of data together, right, to build the story. Okay. So now as we drop down to the 4, right, we see we're starting to move sideways at this key level, right? Sideways push, some consolidation happening. If we look at it from a 4-hour perspective, we did get a 38.2 off of the fib, running them off of the high, right? But we're sitting in this 118, 127 zone, not an 80-20 scenario, right? But key reversal zone, right? So we want to watch this to see if this level holds and to see if price turns over and pushes to the upside, okay? So as we drop down to the 1, I'm going to take a look at this from a couple of perspectives. Ben and I were talking about this yesterday, and he keyed me into some things. So here on the 1, right, we see that sideways push happening, okay? We come back and we drop our fibs on. We see we're not at the de-extension on the 1 hour yet, right? We did get a 618 retracement here, and we press down off the trend line, okay? Press down off the trend line. So if we drop down to the 15, what we'll see from a cloud perspective, right, using the cloud as a guide, and we had a question about this yesterday too, but using the cloud as a guide, you see you got your Tinkinson and your Nikijisen moving sideways through price, right? And price just bouncing back and forth in this consolidation, right? Just bouncing back and forth. So we had some points where our confirmations were met, right? But it's just moving through price right now. So you got some consolidation, sideways movement. Yesterday, I think it was Dominique asked a question regarding using the cloud on other time frames, right? And you can. Benny touched on it some, but this one is the one that stuck in my head because of what we're seeing on the lower time frames and the consolidation. So what you can do is drop the cloud on a different time frame using the same confirmations, but what it'll do, and we'll look at it here, right? We see we have the sideways push, and none of our confirmations, well, all of our confirmations haven't been met yet, right? So putting on this, you can do it on any time frame, right? But on the 1 hour time frame, like Benny said, it'll keep you out of all of this sideways push and this consolidation if you're not using a wide stop and just allowing price to move freely, right? So in this scenario, I'm watching this on this time frame here to see when we get the break of the cloud and all of our confirmations to be met from a cloud perspective, right? TK crossover, lagging span, breakthrough price to close above the cloud with your twist, right? So this is one I want to keep my eyes on because we're at a key level. monthly level. We hit a D extension on the daily time frame, right? So now I want to see if we get this reversal, if we get a break above the cloud out of the consolidation, right? That could give us an indication that we're in a move of a retracement back to the upside. You guys follow me on all of that?
Yep.
All right. So this is one I got my eyes on coming into next month. Okay. So any questions on the pound CAD? No? All right. Beautiful.
Think we're good.
Sweet. The other is move over to these Aussies for a minute. We'll take a look at this Aussie New Zealand. This Aussie New Zealand is another one, right? Coming into key levels. Okay. Playing in this range, right, with the Australian dollar and New Zealand dollar. You see the sideways movement, right? Same trade partner, same region, all of those things. So we see the sideways push. We've come into, right? We got a monthly resistance here, right? And we got another monthly level here if we continue to press higher. Okay. So coming into some key levels here. And as we move through the time frames, we see price pushed above that level, this monthly level here at 111,744, right? And we're getting some indecision now. Okay, getting some indecision. So I want to see how price continues to react at that level, right? If we come back down and break below this monthly level, or do we push up to the top of the range, the complete top of the range there? Okay. So as we drop down to the daily time frame, right? In that range, I just ran my fib from the low here, right? And this is our fib on the daily time frame in that range. Okay, so we got a shallow retracement on the daily, pushed up above this level, this 118, 127 zone, right? Comes in line with the top of that range. Okay, so one of two things we could see. Either price breaks down back below this monthly level, right? And we start to make this move lower, or, right? Something like that. Or we could see price push up into this 118 and 127 zone, and then potentially start making lower highs and lower lows on its way back down. Okay, so here on the daily time frame, I got trend lines drawn. Okay, just looking to see if we get that break. All right, so if we drop down to the 4, this is what we see from a 4-hour perspective. We got a 38 retracement, right? Price came just shy of the D extension, which is just in front of that next monthly high, right? We got a swing high to form, and we got a trend line break on the 4-hour. Okay, so I'm watching this one and see if we get this continuation to the downside without getting to this next monthly level. Okay, because that is the potential. Okay, that is the potential. That would even be sideways push, so we'll move that there. So that'd be our break of our trend line, and we got to pull back here. Right. So if this comes down and breaks this monthly level, we could be in for this push to the downside, as we saw from the daily. Okay. As we continue to move down in the time frames, right, using that same thought process for the cloud and looking at it, right, I ran the fibs from the low, right, and this is our 1-hour fib here. We had a shallow retracement. This last push up pushed us into that 118, 127 zone. So on the 1-hour time frame, we got an 80-20 scenario, right? And here we had this sideways push, but then we got a break of the cloud, right? Break of the cloud, and we pulled back to retest the cloud. So if we stay below this cloud, this could be an indication for us that we're going to start making these lower highs and lower lows now, right? So watch this one. Okay. This is a break retest, right, of your trend line. We could be in for more downward movement here on this Aussie New Zealand. Okay. So this is another one that I did take a small position on, right? And if I get a break of this monthly level here, right, I'll look to add to my position for this thing to continue to move to the downside. Okay. So that's the Aussie New Zealand. Any questions?
Nope, that's a good looking setup.
You got any other thoughts on this one, man?
Not at all.
Sweet. This one could be, looking at it from a higher time frame perspective, right? From a daily, top of the zone, top of the range, right? If we go just from top of the range to bottom of the range, you're looking at over 800, almost 900 pips to the downside, right? If you're looking at just to the 38.2, you're looking at 300 pips, 350 pips, right? So this is a good opportunity in a key zone, right? As our confirmations continue to come into play, right? For a pretty sizable move, right? And if we look at it, just go back and look historically, right? These moves have been long when they happen, right? In both directions, long to the upside and long to the downside. So this is going to be one that as these confirmations continue to be met, I'll look to scale into and look to see if we get it back to the bottom of that range down at 102. All right. So that's the Aussie New Zealand. 1 second, everybody. 1 second. All right, cool deal. Benny, I'm about to send you something. Keep your eyes on. I got to do some research on this alert that I just got. Potential shift in the Bank of Japan stance may be coming. I got to do some research. We'll talk about it tonight. I got to do some research on it. But keep your eyes on yen crosses as we move through the day today. And the rest of the week. So, but that's the Aussie New Zealand. We talked about this one a little bit yesterday. The Swiss yen. I don't know if anybody we talked about the Swiss yen yesterday. I don't know if anybody was able to take a look at this one, but it's on the move, right? If we look at it from a higher time frame perspective, right? Coming back to the monthly, this is an all-time high here, right? And we've been just moving sideways at this all-time level. Monthly resistance broke down. Now the question is, right, we're pushing back up here, but the question is, do we continue to move sideways and do we press back down below that monthly level? Okay. We bounce out to the weekly and we see this is a weekly resistance. It's that sideways movement that we saw from a monthly time frame. We haven't been able to break above this weekly resistance level here, right? Keep pushing into it, but we can't close above it, right? So as it drop down to the daily, from a daily perspective, right? We're sitting in this B boundary zone. We haven't gotten a 38.2 off the daily time frame, okay? And this is that look, pushed into that weekly level. It was somewhat of a strong push, but it immediately turned over and pressed back down. So we're coming back down to the bottom of this short-term range that we've been playing in, right? So now I want to see, do we break below this daily support level, right? And continue making these lower highs and lower lows, okay? So on a weekly time frame, real quick, right? This is sitting at the B boundary, right? So it could be a longer term move to the downside if we start breaking some of these support levels, okay? So back to the daily, this is where we sit, right? Price starting to move to the downside, right? To that 38.2, looking at 518 pips down, right? From a daily perspective. When we get to the 4, okay? We got a 38.2 and we've just been hovering, okay? This is back to that high And this is that look. So I ran trend lines. We got a break of that trend line to the downside yesterday. Bang, right? And we're pressing down. So this is another one I want, like I said, want to keep an eye on. Could be in for a longer term move to the downside. Now, especially if what I saw is actually about to happen regarding the Bank of Japan, right? That could definitely play into this continuing to press down. Okay. So as we drop to the 1, and look at the cloud again from the 1 hour perspective, right? Remove the trend lines. We got trend line breaks, but remove the trend lines out and just look at it from a cloud perspective. We also got cloud break, right? Broke through the cloud. Didn't get that larger pullback, but broke through the cloud, consolidated, and we're pressing down, right? Pressing down, double top scenario there, strong push. Okay. So this level is going to be key, right? We bounced off of it previously. So now we want to see, do we break through this level, get a retest, and then continue lower? Okay. So this is another one, right? We could be, if you're not in this already, we'll continue to watch it to see, do we break that level? Do we get us a nice pullback? So we get a high price to enter, and then look to short this thing for another 500-ish pips, 500-ish pips. Okay. Joy says she's in this 14311. Where you at, Joy? 116. 43. Oh, nice. Nice. Right off the top. Nice. All right. Reverse a lot of that zone consolidation, press down. Beautiful. Great work, Joy. Great work. Great work. All right. So this is where we sit on this, man. Moving to the downside. And if you look at it, right, from a 1 hour perspective, it looks like this is an extremely long move, which, right, almost 200 pips to the downside. But as you move back in the time frames, it hasn't moved much, right? Hasn't moved much. So there's still a lot of movement opportunity here from a higher time frame perspective for the swing traders out here, right? If this starts to break down and really starts to move right back to that level is 267, so 38.2 on the weekly, you're looking at 600 pips, right? So we got a lot of potential in this, a lot of downward potential still left in this one. All right, so keep your eyes peeled on that one. We'll look for a pullback at some point for potential entry at a high price. Cool. Any questions on this? If you look at it from the 15, right? From the 15, you got your confirmations that came in here, right? You got break of the cloud, your Chica span below price, TK crossover came here, right? And your twist came there, right? We got a pullback and a retest, and then we went, right? Break below that weekly level, came back, retested the weekly level, continued down, right? So now we're on the move. Now we're on the move. Okay. No questions there?
Hey, Ryan.
Yes, sir.
So in regards to the Bank of Japan, like it came through about 8 hours ago. The Bank of Japan member, Junko Nakagawa, she just warned of the risk of the country's fragile economy, such as the chances of rising living costs. So they've got living costs that are rising, which is hurting consumption. So household spending is going down. So she just highlighted again the need to keep monetary policy ultra loose for the time being.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So a continuation. So even, I mean, but we're looking at that Swiss though, that Swiss yen. You know, you're looking at profit taking going on too right now. So that's a beautiful move to the downside. And like you said, it's going to continue probably. to move. So it'll have its moments on the pullbacks, but I think that's probably going to continue to fall, just like you're saying.
Yeah. Thanks for that update, man.
Yep.
Appreciate
No problem.
that. Yeah. No questions on the Swiss yet?
Can you pull up your 1 hour?
Yeah.
I wanted to see where you pulled your fib from on that one. Okay, from the 143.30. Got it. Thank you.
If you come back, right, you start to get them taken out on these breaks and these pullbacks here. And then as you started to move sideways here, right, you got them taken out in both directions.
Right. Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? No? All right, cool deal. Those are the ones that I have my eyes on right now. Do you guys have, if you have any prayers that you want to take a look at, take a minute and drop those into the chat, and we'll work through some of them. Ben, you got any that you I know we're at the end of the month and we're moving sideways and got non-farm coming in on Friday. But you got any that you're watching as we move through the next couple of days?
Just a continuation of the Aussie dollar. See if that continue to move to the downside, then that pound Swissy.
Yeah.
And that dollar Swiss to continue long off that daily 61.8 that we spotted, seemed like some weeks ago now.
Yeah, for sure. That one's sitting at an interesting level right now. Yeah, for sure. That crown pattern there is playing out. Yeah, so daily time frame, right? Crown pattern here, right? And we're pressing to the downside. We're heading, yeah. All right. Moving to the downside there. So that's the daily look to the 4. 1 second. One second, everybody. All right, cool deal. But yeah, so looking to the downside, that's the harmonic fib from top down. Yep, definitely still moving down, right? 50% retracement, matching the extension down here at this daily support, 66,842, right? So it's on the move, right? Love to see that continue to the downside there. For sure, right? For sure. Beautiful. Watching that one. We had NZD-JPY. Let's take a look at it. This is that dollar Swiss that Benny talked about. Dollar Swiss, right? In the daily time frame, 618 retracement, and look at it. Right? Saw that coming into it and took off to the upside, right? And now I got the cloud on here. I use this same screen for all time frames, but you're breaking above the cloud on your daily time frame, starting to get that Kumo twist, right? TK crossover, lagging span, Chico span, broke above price, right? So this one, this is a confirmation, right? We're could continue to head in this direction for quite some time, right? And that's off the daily time frame. It's off the daily time frame. So yeah, definitely looking at that continuation for a little bit. That was a great setup there, man.
Appreciate it. Yeah, that's a nice position set up there. So as long as that dollar stands strong.
Yeah.
You know, that'll have its moments when it corrects, right? Market moves in ways, but all in all, that's been Oh, that's how far is that now to 61? I haven't even looked at the account.
Monster. Almost over 400 pips. Let's see. 430, 423.
Yeah, it's making
Beautiful
good
move.
progress. So far, so good.
Mhm. So far, so good. So far, so good. Anybody still holding that move to the upside? No,
I am.
didn't take it. Desi,
Yeah. I am in since 8:16.
you since the 61.8?
No, 6:16 on 8:16.
August 16th.
Yeah.
Right here. Oh, nice. Break above that weekly level.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. Great work. Great work. All right. Just letting that thing ride. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Joy didn't take it. All right. That's all right. That's a beautiful move. Great work, Desi. Great work.
Thank you.
All right. So that's the dollar Swiss. We're on the run to the upside. Now let's take a look at this New Zealand yen. New Zealand yen. Let's clean this up a little bit. See what we got. Probably need to do a fresh markup on it. Right, we see we've been pushing sideways for the most part, right? It's from a higher time frame view. Sideways push. Let's go back to the daily. Let's go back to the weekly. Weekly time frame, right? We see it's just been sideways for quite some time, right? There we go. Right, just been sideways. Just been sideways. I'm playing all this out. I'll wait till we get to the daily. All right. Look at it cleanly from here. Weekly levels, right? That's your zone on the weekly. Could add in another level just inside of that there. Like so. Okay. And then a support level here. Okay. Like that, right? So those are weekly levels in this zone that we just been moving sideways through. Right. So we drop to the daily time frame. And you see it a little better. Right. Getting tighter. We'll see now as we move into the second half of this trading year, right? Do we get a break in one direction or the other? Okay. So as we zoom out and we take a look at it from a fib perspective over the long term, right? Run it from the low. Okay. We got a 50% retracement here, but it's just been a sideways push after that, right? We know this is one of the, so when you look at risk on, risk off indicators, right? We had a question. It was either earlier this week or at the end of last week, but are we in a risk on, risk off scenario? And I said it's tough to determine that because there's been such a back and forth and a lot of indecision because of the amount of factors that are in some cases contradictory, and investors they're just uncertain overall. This is a beautiful example, chart example, technical example of what the risk on, risk off sentiment is, right? It's literally just done this the whole time. So when I gave you guys that somewhat of a long soliloquy about where we are from risk on, risk off, and the number of things that are impacting it, this chart sums it up, right? It's just sideways, right? The sentiment is sideways because they're trying to figure out what's happening what's going to move where and why, and when it's going to move, right? So this is a beautiful example of the sentiment. Yeah, that's interesting to see that. But so that's where we are. We're just moving sideways right now. Just moving sideways, right? And almost straight sideways at this point, right? Not even a large range really to play in. So that's where we are from a fib perspective, and a support resistance perspective on the daily time frame, right? We could add in some additional levels here. Daily levels there and there, right? So that's your tight range that you're running sideways in. As we drop down lower, right? Can't even play this from a fib perspective because there isn't much to do. Okay, so we want to see, do we break to the downside and break below this daily level, get back to that weekly, or do we push back to the top? Right, so it's literally just sideways. If you're looking at this from a lower time frame perspective, right, drop to the 1, and that's your range. It's in between right now, right? This isn't one that I'm trading or that I'm in. I want to see it break out in one direction or the other. I'm leaning towards it moving more down just because the Fed will continue to increase interest rates. You got the issues with China, which could impact trade. So we could see capital potentially flow into the yen at some point. But as Benny said, right, they just reinforced their stance, not changing it. So this could continue to also move sideways, right? So we'll see. But that's the New Zealand yen. Questions on that? Joy, what are your thoughts on this? What were you
It had
thinking?
met my guidelines and everything. So I had took it for a buy, and I'm at 84,623. And when I started realizing that I got stuck in consolidation, I actually should have just got out when it had hit its potential. But I thought I could have that previous support could have turned into resistance, and it didn't. It's so once it broke this that top of that engulfing, I'm like, I'm not for sure. So and then I seen the news, and so I wasn't for sure on the sentiment. So I was waiting for everything to meet the technical. So I got everything. I mean, I got my stop in order and everything, and whatever I get is what I get. I always make sure I put 20 pips. Stop loss and profit. So if anything, I'm gonna get 20 pips. But I was just debating a not
Whether trying to
even
reverse back up.
I was gonna start scalping it, but I didn't even think it was even worth it because it was too much indecision what was going on, and then it's NFP week.
Yeah, I definitely wait to see if there's a reaction at the end of the week. That would be my thought, is to see what happens at the end of the week and then take a look at it again next week. Yeah. So cool deal. It's the NZD JPY. Pound yen. This is always a fun one. So this pound yen, let's take this back. We'll look at it from that perspective too. But we'll come here. We'll look at it from a weekly perspective. I'm gonna remark these, but look. Take this out, take that out. So, right, weekly, you see it's been some long wicks and a lot of indecision. However, it's still been moving down. right? We got a 618 off this weekly fib. But if we take that out and we just look at it, right, we got a double top scenario here, and off of that double top, we've been pushing down, even though it's been super, super choppy, right? Been super choppy. So as we move through the time frames, get back to the daily, right? This is that double top, and then this is that slide to the downside, and we're making lower highs and lower lows. We got a 50% retracement off the daily fib, right? But we just been chopping down. Okay. Just been chopping down. So we got daily resistance here. Okay. Daily support here, weekly support. So now we want to see, right? Do we continue to make lower lows? We kind of moved into the sideways push similar to that New Zealand yen, right? Where it consolidated and then it just started to get really, really tight. Okay. So we want to see, do we get a break out of this consolidation and a break below this weekly support level, right? Which we struggled to do, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, couldn't break through it. Now we're approaching this level again, weekly and daily support, right? So we want to see, are we able to finally break through that and continue to this press lower, or do we hit that level and bounce back to the upside, right? Understanding that the Bank of Japan is standing firm in their stance. Okay, so that's a daily time frame perspective. As we continue to drop down, right, I ran fibs off of the high here, and this was the fib on the 4 where we got a 618 retracement, right? We broke back below this daily level that we're playing at, right? We'll support here, right? Served as somewhat resistance. We consolidated, and then we broke down, right? Broke down, came back. Now we're hovering at this next level of 4-hour support. So we want to see, do we press below that and continue pressing down? Okay. My bias on this one is short. I haven't heard any news or any updates coming out of the Bank of England regarding where they stand from an interest rate perspective, but my bias on this one is short, at least in the short term, right? Back to at least the support level. And if we break that, then we could head lower. Okay. But it's been super choppy, super choppy. We drop down to the 1 and look at it here, right? You see it's choppy, but it's been moving. We created this new AB boundary here, right? And we've been pressing down. Nice move to the downside, pullback, then another push down. Okay. So it's making its waves and it's moving, but it's not a pretty move. Not a pretty move, right? And these, because it's the pound yen, right? These spikes are long spikes, right? In both directions. So that's from that perspective. And this is that range in the short term that it's been playing in. Okay. Take that out. That's the range that it's been playing in, right? AB boundary pushed down to 8.6. We came back, created that new AB boundary after that D extension was hit there. And that's just been the range sideways. So the other way to look at this is if you add the cloud to it, right? On the 1, we pressed back above the cloud and then we broke back below the cloud, right? We got TK crossover, Kumo twist, right? Chico span, break below price. And then price also broke below, right? So pressing down, we got some indecision, right? Bearish, bullish. We'll see how the market plays out over the next couple of days to see if we get this continued push to the downside, right? But this is where we currently sit on this pound yen. Like I said, my bias is short, at least to this daily and weekly support zone. Okay. Questions there? No. All right, cool deal. Hold on one second. So that's the pound yen. Let's see what else we had in here. We had dollar yen, 1 second.
Did you take a look at that pound, Swissy? Can't remember.
No, I didn't. I will though. Yep, I will.
Hi, morning. The reason I asked about the dollar yen is because I see it is heading up to the 39.29. So I figured, although it's a buy, I figured it was too high to take it from there because that seems to be the highest level for a while.
Yeah. So let's see. Let's clean this up a little bit and see what we got. We are sitting at a daily resistance level, right? Let's see. Haven't gotten a 38.2 just yet off the daily, right? Pull this out for a second. Got a little harmonic scenario there, push up. Yeah, so this level is going to be key, right? This level is going to be key. If we break above this level, right, we continue to see this press higher, right? If we stay below, we could see like a double top scenario and a press back down. With the dollar being strong, this one I definitely would wait for the end of the week. Wait for the end of the week to see how non-farm payroll comes out, to see how the market responds to that. But this level is definitely going to be key. This daily level and this weekly level here, right? And it's if we push above, right, we continue to the extension at 144. If we stay below, right, we could look for potentially a deeper retracement, at least coming back to this daily support at 134. So that's the daily look on that. Drop to the 4. Let's see. That's a fib on the 4. We got a 50% retracement. Haven't gotten to the D extension yet. So if we do press up to the top of this, right, we could hit that D extension, but we're just moving sideways right now, right? So we could see this sideways push over the next couple of days to see how non-farm payroll comes out and see how the market then responds. So this one I'd be sitting tight and waiting on. As you get your lower time frames, you can either drop your cloud or your trend lines, right, and wait for a reaction. To your point, Mary, yeah, it's at a high price, and it's a matter of does it break that high to start to create and start to push to that next level or not, right? So that's there. Run an inner trend line there, right? That's what I'd be sitting and wait on, right? To see where we break to the downside and this level holds, or do we break to the upside and get a retest and then a continuation higher? Overall, like Benny said, bias is bullish on the dollar. So you could likely see this start to press higher at some point and break above and continue up, right? So that's the 4-hour look. We drop to the 1, right? And you can do a couple things here, right? You can run your fib off the low, right? And that D extension on the 1 hour comes in line with that weekly resistance level, right? So that would also lend for another push to the upside at least. Then if you want to remove the trend lines and just drop a cloud on it to see where it is from a cloud perspective. Right? You're sitting right at the cloud now, broke above, right? We're testing the cloud now and moving sideways. So you can use this as your additional confirmation, right? If you get another press to the upside and the separation of price and the cloud, right? You got more bullish action. If you do get a break below and all the confirmations to come into play, right? Then you can look at the short opportunities off of it. But I'd sit and wait, right? Nothing doing right now. End of the week, beginning of next week, we could have potential setup opportunity for us. That's my thought. Benny, what are your thoughts on this one?
Just being patient, man.
Yeah.
Just being patient. it's moving sideways for a reason. It's a fight going on, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
You know, we don't. I mean, from the cloud perspective, we don't quite have it yet. What it look like on the floor?
On the floor.
Oh yeah. So you know, we may see some profit taking because that's what it's going to be. It's not going to be because it's a strong yen,
No, for sure.
right? It's just those levels. I mean, we're not seeing anything today. Sometimes during month end, you get, you know, books closing out, all types of stuff, repatriation,
Mm-hmm.
you know, with corporations. So we haven't seen anything yet. Maybe you see it with non-farm.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you see if the numbers come out disappointing, maybe you see some relief on the dollar. We know that globally, nobody likes a strong dollar, right? Tough to do
Right.
business when that dollar is too strong. But we you know, you've got it moving sideways like this because you've got to, you know, you've got the weak yen, you're sitting at high levels, so it's just a matter of when that move to the downside is going to happen, man. So just continue to be patient.
For sure. For
Yeah,
sure.
but I definitely, you know, see that correct because I mean, you've got on the 4, right? You see
here.
that separation between that Tinkerson and that Keatonson,
Yeah.
right? Starting to widen out a bit, but just have to be patient on this one. It's moving sideways, but it's at a critical spot.
It is, right? Off the sub fib to the upside here, right? Shallow retracement of 118, 127 zone, daily resistance. So we could see it. We could see it. We'll see. We'll see. All right, so that's the dollar yen. We'll close it out with this pound Swissy. And she's on the move. So let's bounce back and see where we sit overall, right? Benny's been talking about this one, right? And been driving this one home for a while now, right? Pull a cloud off and just look at it from a fib perspective. Take all these out, right? Shallow retracement, 118, 127 zone, right? You got kind of a double bottom scenario here on 4 hour or 1 hour time frame, right? Double bottom. Now we're see if this candle closes bullish, right? We could be in for that ride to start to the upside, right? So this is a new level of daily support also, right? That was a swing low there. We'll see if this candle closes above. That'll confirm that swing low zone, right? So that's there, right? So we're starting to push. We got the sideways move. We'll see if this really starts to push to the upside there, right? So you got 80-20 on the daily time frame, right? We go to the 4, see that double bottom more clearly there, right? And now price is trying to make its way. It's trying to make its way, okay? So if we zoom out and look at it from a fib perspective on the 4, like so. On the 4, you also got 80-20 scenario, right? Shallow retracement, push down to that 118 level, right? That should double bottom, trying to push, okay? So confirmation on the daily and the 4 hour, right? Similar action, similar look, okay? Does it drop down to the 1? There's your push, okay? There's your push. So now if you drop the cloud on the 1 hour time frame, right? But more of a longer term confirmation. We know we got 80-20s on the daily and the 4 hour. We got a break, pull back, retest, and now we're pushing. right? Still above the cloud. You got another crossover happening here, right? Of your Tekinson and your Kijison, right? So we're in for a push to the upside. Okay. So we're on the move. On the move. If we break this level of resistance, right? You look, this has been a level of resistance here for a while, right? In this consolidation. Okay. This is a zone here. Oops. So we're already in the move. We already got our confirmation, right? Push to the upside. Now we want to see a breakthrough of this zone, right? Breakthrough of that zone, right? We could really be off to the races. Okay. Could be off to the races. So that's on the 1. We got a break of the cloud. If we move back to the 4 and take a look at it, right? You see prices hovering in the cloud here, right? Starting to get a crossover, right? Starting to get your twist, your Kumo twist here, right? Tekinson and Kijison moving sideways through price. Haven't gotten your lagging span to breakthrough yet on the 4-hour, right? Could start to see some of this happen if we break above the cloud here, right? So that's where we at. That's where we at. On the move to the upside, right? Again, confirmation on your higher time frames, 80-20 scenario. Now, if we start to really push through this cloud on the 4-hour, that could give us additional confirmation that we're on the move to the upside. That'd also be a break of this resistance level, right? You see your single span A, right? Serving as that resistance, right? And this shows your resistance here, right? If we get a break above that, could potentially get a retest and then a continuation to the upside, right? So it's moving. It's moving, it's moving, it's moving. Okay. So questions on this pound Swiss. It's another good setup, bro.
Appreciate it. So one of the reasons why we navigate through all the pairs is because we're starting to see the common theme is that the Swissy is starting to give up ground a bit against the other currencies.
Yep. Opportunities. All right. Any questions? Any questions on this pair? Anything that we covered this morning? No.
I have not a question, but I was trying to I'm starting to look a lot more at the dollar and then looking at the risk on, risk off. And today in reading, I guess the news, when I did, looking at the dollar, but when you look at the risk on and risk off, it's saying that, well, if when we look at the unemployment, not the employment, but the Forex factory with the news coming out today on employment, if employment, the way I'm thinking about it, if employment is rising, right, that means people are going to start to buy more. But then when you look at the risk off, right, if I'm just trying to work it through my brain. When we look at the risk off, by people being employed and we have consumer spending, then that gives investors that ability to put their money into safe haven assets, right? Is that the train of thought or how I should be reading it?
Benny, you want to take that one?
Yeah. So right now, right, if you got strong employment, like you're saying, you can look at the potential of increased spending. So the reason why the stock market is reacting the way it is because that increase in spending lends to the belief and confirmation that the Fed, as long as that is happening, they're going to continue to aggressively hike rates. So if they're going to look to aggressively hike rates, that's strong for the dollar, but it may not be so good for investors in the market, right? In the stock market, because that interest rate hiking, eventually you put so much pressure, corporations may start to eventually feel the squeeze. They're always thinking way ahead, right? And that's why you see the reactions the way you see it on the stock market. And a higher interest rate, it raises borrowing costs, right? For investors who like to invest in riskier assets. So the borrowing costs increase. Corporations, right? They may not be so apt if the interest rates keep going high to a certain extent. Then corporations say, you know what, some of those investments that we were gonna make, some of those jobs that we were gonna create, some of those expansionary ideas that we had, we may not do those, right? Because the borrowing costs are so expensive. So it can lend to, a tightening and a decrease in overall, demand. So the reason why it's so, you're kind of like, it's perplexing is because there's just a lot of back and forth right now. So sometimes you think of like, wow, you look at all these scenarios and it is just what it is. Like the market is confused. The market is confused right now because it's just like things change, seem like, in this global economy from day to day, and there's so many different variables. Oil production, COVID lockdowns from China. Think about it. COVID lockdowns from China. One day they're raising they're lifting the restrictions. The next thing they're right back on lockdown because another province has an increase in COVID cases and things like that. And China is a major player. You still have the war going on. You got high inflation globally. So sometimes when you think through all these different scenarios and it's like, man, it's hard to come to a conclusion. It's because it's hard to just come to a conclusion. So that's when I really start to look at those key technical levels like we saw on the euros, saw those moves coming to the upside. Because at some point, inflation, as far as monetary policy, you got to do something. And that's what they're debating back and forth now with the euro is, hey, minimum baseline 50 basis points. Now the debate is just whether it's going to be 75 basis points. Right. So that's how you think about it. Sometimes it's just, it can boggle your mind, but it's just because it's just a period of uncertainty right now. And it's been like that pretty much all year. Yep. So when it comes to currencies, I pretty much lean more on overall monetary policy and looking at that divergence, like the yen, right? Hey, they're looking at even more easing. The euro, man, it bottomed out technically, but inflation is crazy in the Eurozone. They've got to do something at this next meeting coming up on the 8th, right? So maybe a further boost to the euro, and then of course the dollar is just strong. So that's when I really just key in there. And that tends to keep me focused to where I can still come out with successful trades.
Okay. So the key is to think about the interest rates and how the government has been assessing that.
Yep. Especially when it comes to the currencies right now. That's the one consistent narrative right now is the monetary policy from the central banks. Like that's one thing that you can clear cut see who's doing what. Everything else could be day to day. Day to day seems like with so many different things fundamentally happening, but that monetary policy seems to stay steady.
Cool. Any specific news thing that you look for the monetary policy, or it's just regular?
Just your central bank meetings and just continuing to those key economic reports on forest factory, your CPI, your manufacturing numbers and things like that. Those key data points for inflation.
Gotcha. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Any other questions? No? All right. Benny, did you give us final thoughts? You got any final thoughts before we wrap it up?
Oh, no, man. Just great session as always, Ryan. Great questions, right, from the group. It's an awesome group. Continue to learn, continue to be patient, and master the skill, master the craft, give yourself time. And then, hey, it's month end. you know, like you said earlier, we're moving, closing out companies, closing out books and things like that. So just be cautious when you're trading. And then we're heading into the next month, and we got non-farm payroll just around the corner, and the show starts all over again. So that's the way it goes.
That's the way it goes. All right, good people. Ben will be back with us tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the Asian session. Until then, you guys have an awesome day. Peace.
Thank you. Have a great day. Great session.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.